Even amid my suspicions, my love for Annie remained unwavering. However, a series of peculiar occurrences began to unfold, sparking my intuition. Her attire and appearance underwent significant changes following the arrival of the new boss at her office. Our intimate life took an unexpected turn for the better, with Annie initiating physical intimacy and unprecedented behavior. Increased nocturnal text exchanges and prolonged work meetings became commonplace. Despite her plausible explanations, my innate sense of jealousy remained unsettled. Instructing the private investigation firm to withhold any updates until the investigation concluded, I harbored hopes of my paranoia being unfounded. After 3 months of inquiry, I was presented with a dossier containing the unwelcome revelation. Upon reviewing the collected evidence, videos, audios, and photographs, I promptly instructed Mac, my attorney, to initiate divorce proceedings, with documents scheduled for completion by Wednesday afternoon. I devised a plan to confront them during their Thursday night rendezvous, under the guise of being out of town, preparing a fitting surprise for the couple. Annie's audacity to believe she could deceive me astounded me. She knows me intimately, my intuitive nature, resolute demeanor, and uncompromising principles. Having witnessed my assertiveness in the corporate realm, she understands my capacity for ruthless competition, evident in my ascendancy to owning a major trucking enterprise. Esteemed among truckers and teamsters alike, I've cultivated a reliable support network within the industry. I've lavished Annie with everything, treating her with utmost adoration and respect. She acknowledges this openly, recounting to acquaintances my devoted gestures, albeit expressing occasional embarrassment. Yet, amidst my contemplation, one question echoes persistently: why? Why would she endanger all we've built for a fleeting liaison with her boss? This enigma remains my greatest source of perplexity. Annie had always excelled as a devoted mother and spouse, rendering this betrayal all the more confounding. Our intimate life was fulfilling, albeit apparently insufficient for her. She juggled household responsibilities with her executive role at a local technology firm, a testament to her capability and dedication. The notion of her engaging in an extramarital affair had never crossed my mind until now. My name is Luciano Rossetti, and I've been married to Annie for 15 years. We have 2 daughters who adore me. I pride myself on being an assertive alpha male who cherishes his wife like the treasure she is. In our relationship, I let Annie take the lead and feel empowered, up to a certain extent. With my father's genetics, I inherited his imposing stature, standing at 6 foot 6 inches tall, weighing 265 pounds of muscle. Although I may appear intimidating, I'm a gentle giant until provoked. Annie has witnessed my protective instincts a few times, especially when we've been out together and she's been approached by aggressive men. With her stunning physique, curvy with ample assets and a captivating face, Annie often attracts attention and flirtation from other men, which stirs up my insecurities. My jealousy, once triggered, is a challenging aspect of my personality that I've struggled to manage over the years. Annie has seen my jealous streak flare up twice in our marriage, and she's aware of the extent of my capabilities. On both occasions, when men at bars disregarded her rejection and attempted to dance with her, I swiftly intervened. The first incident involved a man forcibly pulling her out of our booth, prompting me to swiftly incapacitate him to protect Annie. Similarly, in another encounter, I had to intervene forcefully to defend her honor, resulting in the aggressor sustaining injuries. Now, as for the affair, it's perplexing to comprehend why Annie would engage in such behavior, knowing my disposition. Date night Thursday. I orchestrated a plan for confrontation. Accompanied by an associate, I prepared to confront Annie and her lover during their date night. I arrived early at the venue and discreetly arranged for them to be seated in a secluded area. Annie believed I was out of town, unaware of my presence nearby. Through monitoring software installed on her phone, I obtained incriminating messages exchanged between her and her boss, detailing their rendezvous plans. The audacity of her lover to pick her up from our home fueled my anger and determination to confront them both. My plan was rather straightforward. Once the lovers were settled with their first drink, I would make a sudden appearance. This would mark the beginning of my performance, culminating in a subtle threat and the unexpected presentation of divorce papers. My anger and desire for revenge were reaching a boiling point. Despite knowing deep down that Annie cherished our family and wouldn't desire a divorce, I was determined to go through with my plan. I was prepared to inflict the same pain on her that she had caused me. While some might advocate for forgiveness in the interest of our children and our 15-year marriage, as an immature, jealous alpha male, I simply couldn't fathom allowing another man to share intimacy with my wife and then continue our relationship as if nothing had happened. As much as I loved her, the betrayal was irreparable, and I couldn't envision looking at or touching her in the same way again. With eyes and backup in place, I received the signal that the couple was seated and served their drinks on Thursday night. I left my car and entered the restaurant, composed and determined to execute my plan. Seeing my beautiful wife adorned in a seductive cocktail dress, showcasing her perfect breasts, ignited a surge of anger within me. She had never dressed like that for me, and the realization infuriated me. Why would she do this to me? The confusion and frustration gnawed at my sanity. Approaching them discreetly, I observed their obliviousness to my presence, lost in their own world of romance. Pulling a chair from a nearby table caught their attention. Annie's expression was a mix of shock, fear, and guilt, unlike anything I had ever seen before. Meanwhile, her date remained clueless, sporting an irritated expression. And so, it began. "Hello, Annie. Are you enjoying your date night?" I inquired, wearing a forced smile. "Sweetheart, what are you doing here? I thought you were out of town tonight. Jeremy, my boss, invited me to discuss some organizational changes over dinner. Please, join us." "Jeremy, this is my husband, Luciano," Annie said calmly and affectionately. She was slick, I had to hand it to her. Smooth and quick on her feet. As the drink I had ordered arrived at the table, I brushed off Annie's lies and suggested a toast. Ignoring her inquiry, I grinned and said, "Let's raise our glasses for a little toast. Here's to an eventful evening and a fresh start." After the toast, I turned to her boss with a smile. "Jeremy, do you know what has kept Annie and me happily married for 15 years? It's honesty and trust, plain and simple. Are you married, Jeremy?" I already had all the details about him from the report. "Yes, I've been married for 20 years, and I have 4 wonderful children ranging from 5 to 13 years old. And I agree with you, Luciano. Trust and honesty are vital in our marriage too." "That's great to hear, Jeremy. Annie, do you share the same sentiment?" I intentionally put her on the spot. "Yes, darling, honesty and trust are crucial to us," she confidently affirmed, sticking to her story that it was just a business dinner. She had no reason to appear guilty or anxious. "You see, Jeremy, we have a fantastic marriage, and Annie knows how much I love her and how far I'd go for her as long as she stays faithful." I noticed them both squirm a bit as I took another sip of my drink, playing my part. "So, how long have you two been seeing each other?" I asked casually, flashing a grin. Annie was irritated, attempted to regain control, and grew defensive. "Honey, this is strictly business, and you're embarrassing me in front of my boss. Please stop with the jealousy. You know me better than that." Following Annie's lead, her date seized the chance to put me in my place. "Exactly, Luciano, this is a business dinner. I needed to discuss some upcoming changes and had to meet with Annie tonight. I apologize if there was any misunderstanding. I would never cross professional boundaries, especially with a married woman." I tried to appear apologetic and said, "Oh, I'm sorry. So, you've never been on a date with my wife, and this is purely business?" "That's correct, Luciano. There's nothing between us," he confirmed. "Annie, is that true? Just business meetings, and you've never been out with him?" I posed the question that would shape our future. Truth or deceit? Unfortunately, I already knew the answer before she uttered a word. "Only business meetings, darling. I'd never be with another man, especially my boss. Please stop being childish." "I'm sorry, Jeremy, my husband can be a bit jealous, but he knows how much I love him." I hung my head, feigning contrition. "Please forgive me. I tend to get jealous sometimes. I mean, seeing you in this stunning dress with this handsome man, you understand, right?" Jeremy patted me on the back, visibly relieved that I fell for their act. "Luciano, no need to apologize. If my wife looked this good and was out with a stranger, I don't know how I'd react. As everyone relaxed, I signaled to the man at the bar who approached our table with a thick folder. All eyes turned to him as he handed me the folder and walked away. Annie and Jeremy exchanged a puzzled glance as I opened the folder and began laying out photos on the table. Just before placing the first photo down, I turned to Annie and spoke in a somber tone. "Annie, you know I loved you wholeheartedly and would have given you the world. But you chose to throw away our love and years of marriage. You've deeply hurt me, and I'll never forget the things you said about me on those recordings. They'll haunt me for the rest of my life. Thank you for that." The first photo I placed down depicted Annie on her knees with Jeremy. The subsequent ones showed them engaged in various sexual acts. Annie gasped, covering her mouth in shock. Jeremy demanded to know where I got the photos, but I silenced him with a stern command. After laying out the photos, I took a moment to comment on each one. I remarked on Annie's appearance and Jeremy's satisfaction in each photo, making Annie visibly distraught. Other diners began to notice our commotion as Annie pleaded with me to stop. Realizing the severity of the situation, Annie attempted to salvage it. "I'm sorry, can we please leave? I'll explain everything. It's not what it looks like." I regarded her with a sardonic smile. "Not what it looks like? Are you going to continue lying to me, you whore? Before you do, both of you should know that I have hours of evidence, videos, audio recordings, text messages, emails, and photos. Annie, seeing those videos, I never knew you had that side to you. You never showed it to me, and that hurts. I've spent a fortune gathering this information over the last 3 months, and it's all legal. So, believe me, I understand everything." Clearing the documents, I continued, "Now, let me explain why I'm here and what will happen tonight." I then handed Annie the divorce papers. "Annie, we're finished. You and your lover destroyed our marriage and my love for you. You've hurt me in ways I've never experienced, and I'll never be with you again. You'll sign these tonight, and my associate at the bar is a notary who will witness your signature. If you refuse, I'll expose all the evidence to your parents, our friends, and our daughters. They'll know what kind of mother you are. I've been fair in this divorce, but our daughters will live with me. There's no way they'll live with a cheating woman like you. Jeremy, my friend, I suggest you persuade your girlfriend here to sign this before I leave, or else I'll deliver all the evidence to your wife and your executive team at work. By the time I'm done, you'll be out of a job, and I'll make sure Sarah kicks you out and ruins you financially for a long time. I don't want to do any of that, so just get her to sign the divorce papers, and then my soon-to-be ex-wife is all yours. I want nothing to do with this woman ever again." My words pierced her heart. The thought of losing her daughters was unbearable. Tears streamed down her face, and her boyfriend looked panicked. Annie begged me to reconsider, offering the usual excuses. "It's not what it looks like, let me explain, I'll make it up to you, it was just a mistake, please forgive me, blah, blah, blah." She pleaded, "Luciano, I love you, and I don't want this. Please give me another chance." Ignoring her pleas, I stood up and said, "I'm going to the men's room. When I come back, I want those papers signed. If they're not, both of you will face consequences beyond your imagination." I left Annie in tears and her lover in shock, knowing Jeremy would do anything to avoid the fallout. While I was away, Jeremy acted quickly. He knew the damage those videos could cause and urged Annie to sign the papers. "Annie, just sign them and ask him to wait a week for discussion. Convince him you love him and are willing to do anything to save the marriage. If he has those videos and audios, we're in trouble." "I don't want a divorce," she cried. "Trust me, if you can get him to wait, there's a chance to save your marriage. Think about the girls. You don't want to lose them, do you?" Tears welled up again, and when I returned to the table, Annie looked into my eyes with a pleading expression. "Honey, I'll do whatever you want, including signing these papers, but please give me a week before you do anything. Let me come home with you and have that time with our girls. After 15 years, can't I have just 1 week to be with them and talk? Please, give me that much." I remained silent, meeting her gaze for a long moment as I considered her request. Finally, I relented and said, "Despite what you've done and how you've destroyed our marriage for this man, I'll grant you that. You can come home, and you have a week before I submit the paperwork to my attorney. But you'll stay in one of the guest bedrooms. I don't want you near my bed during this time. Now, sign them so I can leave." She signed the papers, and I placed them in the folder before standing up to go. Before leaving, I took her hand in mine. She smiled until she realized I was removing her wedding rings. I pocketed them and then removed the ring I had worn for 15 years. Holding it up, I flipped it carelessly into her glass of wine. Her reaction brought me a small sense of satisfaction, but when she started crying again, it gave me a slight smile because I knew she was beginning to feel my pain. Turning to Jeremy, I said, "Well, asshole, she's your date now. Do whatever you want with her. I'm leaving, but remember this, you fucked my wife, destroyed our marriage, and jeopardized so many things, including my children's love for their mother. Your ass is mine, and I have your balls in my hand. Don't mess with me. You're lucky I didn't follow through on my original plans for you. It's not over between us. You'll be hearing from me soon. Got it?" Jeremy nodded quietly as I towered over him, possibly ruining their plans for the evening. I wondered if they still felt like continuing after I left. As I started to leave, Annie grabbed my arm and pleaded, "Luciano, can I please come home with you? I just want to be with you. Please." I pulled my arm away as if it were burning and replied, "Fuck you. I don't want to be seen with a whore. You're his slut tonight. I'll see you after he's done with you, tonight or tomorrow. Makes no difference to me, you have 1 week. You disgust me. I'm embarrassed to have been your husband." Yes, I was harsh. But I didn't care. I felt like I had kept my jealousy and anger in check. I was proud that I had managed to contain all the pent-up rage. I had given her a week. Let's see what happens. The next morning, I heard her come home about an hour later, and to her credit, she went straight to the guest suite. She must have realized I wouldn't be speaking calmly to her that night. We met in the kitchen the next morning when I came down for coffee. Still in a vengeful mood, I continued with my harsh demeanor and said, "Good morning, whore. How's my slut wife today?" She flinched and stared into her coffee, uttering the exact words every cheating wife who's been caught and wants to salvage her marriage says, "Honey, we need to talk." Listen, there's nothing to discuss, Annie. I know what you've done. I know how long it's been going on. I know all the things you said to him about me and our marriage. I witnessed things between you two that you never did with me. I saw how you dressed for him. I know he's supposedly bigger and better, as you mentioned 100 times in your videos. You lied, deceived, cheated, and took me for a fool. I can't believe you were that foolish. If there's anything I'm missing, then we can talk, but otherwise, I have nothing to say. I'm the fool here, not you. I don't know why I let it happen. You gave me everything I ever wanted, and I love you regardless of what you heard in those videos. You have to believe I never intended to hurt you, and I never wanted you to find out, she said tearfully. That's exactly the problem, Annie. You never wanted me to find out. You wanted to keep it a secret and continue lying and sleeping with your lover behind my back. That's the real issue here, Annie. I can forgive infidelity. After all, we're all human and make mistakes. But this wasn't a mistake. You wanted this, and you wanted to keep it a secret while continuing to lie, cheat, and hide your affair. I love you, Annie, but as Tina Turner says, what's love got to do with it? My trust is shattered, and I wonder if I ever truly knew you. How many other men were there? How many times did you sleep with your lover and then come back to my bed, filled with his semen? I'm so disgusted, I can barely find the words. Sobbing now, she realized the depth of my pain and understood the gravity of her actions. She had no excuses, only an admission of guilt. Okay, I'm guilty, and I hate myself for it. There was never anyone else, and no matter what I say, I know you won't be able to forgive me for what I've done. But I don't want a divorce. I'll do whatever it takes to stay with you. I think I need counseling, and maybe we can go together to figure out what's wrong with me. Please don't leave me. I paused for a moment and replied, Annie, you can go to counseling, figure out whatever you need, and I'll support you. But I can't live with a woman who can discard me so callously. Your actions and words revealed your true feelings, and I can't imagine living with someone who feels that way about me. I know there are other women out there who would appreciate being with me. You had your chance, and you freely threw it away. Enjoy your week here with the girls. Try to explain why you're leaving. I won't badmouth you, but you need to tell them you're leaving and why. In the divorce agreement, I've granted you full access to the girls whenever you want, but they'll live with me. If you continue behaving irresponsibly and setting a bad example for them, I'll make visitations much more difficult. I'll treat you better than you deserve and help you maintain your relationship with the girls. But I have 2 questions I want answered. Think carefully before you respond. First, why? Why did you risk everything for this? Second, was it worth it? I contacted Jeremy the following Monday and arranged to meet him for lunch on Wednesday. After he agreed to meet, I expressed my disappointment in how his actions had destroyed my marriage and nearly led to severe consequences for him. I then outlined a plan for him moving forward. During lunch, I emphasized the impact of his actions on multiple people due to his involvement with a married woman. I laid out my expectations for restitution. He would cover Annie's rent and car payments for the next 3 years as a consequence for his actions. I made it clear that this was his punishment and warned him of the consequences of not complying. I'll send you the payment details for setting up the automatic payments. This is your penance, and believe me, you're getting off lightly. Despite ending things with my wife, I still care about her well-being. Since you played a part in this, you will follow my instructions. This arrangement will assist Annie in getting back on her feet after I separate from her. I don't care how you manage it, but if you fail to fulfill your end, I'll ensure you lose your job, and your wife Sarah learns about your infidelity. Consider yourself fortunate to still be breathing. Understand that there are consequences for your actions. Instead of targeting married women, why not pursue single women? Your actions were truly despicable, Jeremy. Epilogue. I treated Annie with compassion, facilitated her visits with the children, and maintained a civil relationship with her. However, she never regained my respect or trust. Jeremy complied with the monthly payments, knowing the repercussions of failing to do so. Annie could never provide satisfactory explanations for her actions. While she expressed remorse for her infidelity and deception, she struggled to articulate the underlying reasons. She now lives alone, without a partner or the love she once had. Though I could have inflicted further damage, the loss of her family and my love sufficed as retribution. Despite counseling, Annie could not offer a definitive answer to the question of why. Her vague response of "it just happened" failed to address the root cause. I confronted her, questioning why she adorned herself and engaged in activities with him that she never did with me if she was content in our relationship. I expressed hope for clarity in the future. For those of us betrayed partners, the elusive answer to why remains a perplexing enigma. Thanks to the actions of these 2 betraying couples, my ability to trust and fully invest in another relationship is uncertain. It's a sobering realization. Married individuals should contemplate the repercussions of their actions and the enduring impact they leave. The devastation caused by infidelity far outweighs the fleeting thrill of illicit affairs. Open communication with your partner is crucial. Either address unmet needs together or have the courage to exit the relationship, as betrayal inflicts lasting wounds. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel not to miss new videos.